a bunch of crazy stories written by the Brothers Grimm. And now you're gonna learn all about them, listening to the Brothers Grimm.
Students and scholars, friends and relations, welcome to the Brothers Dim podcast, a podcast in which a guy named Phil and a guy named Mike delve into the weird, though sometimes educational tales of the Brothers Grimm, a collection of fairy tales curated by Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm in the early 19th century in Germany, including this week's tale, story number 78, The Old Man and His Grandson. My name is Phil.
And my name is Mike.
Mike, how are you now? How is your family?
Oh, family's good. We're a little tired. Today was King Richard's Fair.
Oh, boy.
Yep. I had no idea it was moving locations. So we knew it was going to be 80 degrees. But when we got there, it was not like the shady forest glen that it usually is. At least the first half of it was all paved. It was like an amusement park type deal.
Oh, boy.
No trees, no shade. It was brutal. And then the back half to 2/3 of it was more like the old location where it was wooded and there was shade to be found and things like that.
For anyone listening, the King Richard's Fair is the big Renaissance fair we have in Massachusetts.
Some would say all of New England.
Okay.
But
I don't know if there's, I'm not sure. I went to the Ren Fair actually last weekend as well, funnily enough.
Oh, did he make anything of it?
He did. He was, I think, a little overstimulated, but then there was the forest walk in the one in Tuxedo, New York. It was really interesting. It was the people that were in the forest walk, the fair workers, right, were all, I think, deaf and were just signing.
Interesting.
So Jamie found one of these people that was signing to him, and just this guy that not hung out with him, but was interacting with him for 20 minutes, and Jamie was fascinated by him.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. I guess I called them tree fairies or something like that.
Like a dryad type thing.
Dryad something is what they were kind of going for, I think, and they just didn't speak. And then, Jamie was just running around looking for pine needles to give them.
As one does.
As one does, but I mean, he's only like 2. So.
Here, you drop this.
Yeah, quite magical.
But if I may just pivot to the story a little bit, but bring this in.
I have always wanted kids. I didn't think I was in a place to have kids and give them a good life until somewhat recently, but I did always want them. One of the reasons why, by the way, I am slightly terrified of getting old but not having anyone around to watch me.
No.
Like my grandmother when she turned 97. If you recall, but she started losing her vision fairly quickly. Her housekeeper started stealing checks from her.
Oh, I forgot about the housekeeper check situation, yes.
Yeah, and so I was just about to graduate college. My parents asked if I could move in for 3 months while they sorted things out. It was a very large and beautiful apartment in the Upper West Side.
Literally overlooking Central Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on Central Park West.
I gotta tell you spoiled me for visiting Manhattan. I will say flat out. It was
a really nice apartment. So yeah, not super hard to get me to move in. And then those 3 months turned into 4 years. It's when we realized, okay, whatever we're doing is working. I'm just going to live with Lucille until she dies. And then the same thing happened. My grandmother, I guess on Thursday, passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
My other grandmother. And so, but she had, her kids around.
Yeah. Yesterday was 5 years for my dad.
Right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That feels like, I mean, I know I'm sure it's crazier for you or whatever. It feels to me like that happened like last year.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels like it was.
Yeah.
Time flies.
And that it does. It's comforting to have young folk around to kind of take care of you. I hope to God someone pays that forward for me, which is why it's not the only reason I'm being very, very nice to my son. That was quite living. That was a long story, a long walk, one might say, since this story is only half a page and not a story so much as a parable to get to the point of today's story, The Old Man and His Grandson.
It ties very directly.
Mike, do you have a grade for this tale?
Honestly, I know I've been in the B range lately. I actually went D+ on this one.
Okay.
Didn't love it. I feel like it hits you over the head with the moral.
Yeah.
I didn't find it was particularly subtle or even interesting. I got a small chuckle out of the end, but in general, just kind of fell flat for me.
Like I said, it's a parable, but I gave it a B. And I'll tell you
interesting.
Why. For all its shortness, they really do get into it with this poor, scared grandpa. What a nice boy they raised, despite it all.
Yeah, I took it as like an innocence of youth, from the mouths of babes kind of thing.
Okay. This is just what we do with old folks.
Right. Well, not even. I think it's just I mean, we'll have to
Well,
get
from
into
his
it, so-
perspective.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, I mean, he's not learning the right lessons, but he knows the right lessons intrinsically. Maybe we should get into it, and then we can discuss further.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you would be so kind then, Mike, would you take us through Grimm's story number 78, The Old Man and His Grandson?
Absolutely. And instead of recapping it, I opted I'm just going to flat out read it because it is
Yeah.
literally half a page.
It's so short, but I fully I think that's great.
Yeah. If I try to recap it, it's going to be even longer.
Right.
The Old Man and His Grandson. There was once a very old man whose eyes had become dim, his ears dull of hearing, his knees trembled, and when he sat at dinner, he could hardly hold the spoon and spilled the broth upon the tablecloth or let it run out of his mouth. His son and his son's wife were disgusted at this, so the old grandfather at last had to sit in the corner behind the stove, and they gave him his food in an earthenware bowl, and not even enough of it. And he used to look toward the table with eyes full of tears. Once, too, his trembling hands could not hold the bowl, and it fell to the ground and broke. The young wife scolded him, but he said nothing and only sighed. Then they brought him a wooden bowl for a few halfpence, out of which he had to eat. They were once sitting thus when the little grandson of 4 years old began to gather some bits of wood upon the ground. "What are you doing there?" asked the father. "I am making a little trough," answered the child, "for father and mother to eat out of when I am big." The man and his wife looked at each other for a while and presently began to cry. Then they took the old grandfather to the table, and from then on always let him eat with them, and likewise said nothing if he did spill a little of anything. The end.
Okay, well, we might as well just get this out of the way. The moral. Do you have a moral?
Do unto others as you would have them do to you, literally.
Yeah, exactly. I think golden rule and all
Yeah.
that. Treat your elders well because youth is fleeting. You too
Right.
shall be old soon.
Yep. And your caretakers are probably watching you.
Yes, and as the parent of an almost 3-year-old, I'd also add, yeah, if you are going to do something bad, your kids are absorbing that.
Oh, yes.
At least my kid is. I'm trying to stop swearing because he's starting, and he knows when it's a swear.
Oh,
Well,
did you
like,
make the mistake of
intrinsically.
laughing the first time?
No, not even that. We as soon as he hears a swear, he repeats that one word over and over again and laughs and laughs and laughs and laughs. And it's not us. We don't react at all, but he knows. His goddamn Boston jeans or whatever.
Fact.
Fuck. Fuck you. Speaking of just kids absorbing everything. I don't know if I've told you this story. Jamie and I went to our friend Tyler's kids' 18th birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamie walked up to Tyler at one point, apropos of nothing, and looked at him and put his hand on him and said, "You'll never go hungry again." It's just one of those.
No, you have
weird-
not mentioned this before.
I don't know, because we were on break, but it's one of those things where it's like, when people say like all toddlers are haunted. They're all a little swishy and they're all a little haunted. They've got like weird.
And that's when we
ghosts
knew.
something. No, what happened was we'd been watching The Lion King. We saw it a couple days before. Scar says it at some point. The bad lion. And that's where he picked it up. He kept it in his head for a few days and said it to Tyler. You're trying to put these sentences together, and then you get one as a little kid, and it's either the most adorable thing you've ever seen, or it's the creepiest thing. And here's what finally this kid coming up and saying like, "I'm making a little trough for you. You'll be eating like a pig out of a trough."
To go back to earlier conversation, it's not a case where the child has learned the right things from the parents. Clearly, I think it's just an ingrained niceness that the parents have lost. They're reminded of it by the actions of the child. I mean, they're shamed into it. They realize that they have been acting terribly.
I mean, I can understand getting annoyed with a parent. Like I've never had to take care of a parent in such a way that like we're dealing with like say sundowning or.
And as someone who is involved in elder care, I can attest to there's ups and downs. It's not easy.
I imagine not, and I mean I had a slightly different situation anyways, in that I was living there, but like there was other people around, so I wasn't
you were sort of the watch guard.
I was more of a watch guard than a caretaker.
Yeah, I don't know what a watch guard is, but I just made it up. It
sounds
sounds good.
I mean, I was there to make sure that the nurses were there and that no one was stealing checks anymore and things like that.
But also that safeguard to a grandparent role is maybe why I thought the grandchild was acting in a support role to this guy he loves, protecting him from the people that are trying to do grandpa harm, which housekeepers stealing checks in my case, and then the parents forcing wooden cutlery into in this case.
Yeah. I think, however, I'd have to disagree because there are other versions of this that are more direct in that messaging.
Okay.
I don't know if you would come across these. There's an Asian one where the father is fashioning a basket to use to throw the old man in the river. And the kid says, be sure to bring it back because we'll need it when you're old too.
That's really funny.
More direct.
That's a threat I often say to my dog, by the way, a lot of times. I tell her I'm going to throw her into a sack and throw the sack into the river and throw the river into the sun.
You feel, perhaps we've been reading too much Grimm.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe I should just, again, stop saying things like that. Since I do love the dog.
Yeah.
And the only way I know how to throw a river into the sun is to be like Superman, who I think did that to a lake once. But I don't have Superman powers, so I can't even.
I remember
he freeze the river.
Yeah, he froze the lake and carried it over to a forest fire.
Was that how it was a forest fire?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, it's stupid.
There was another one. I don't remember where this one was from, but it was the wife was putting the old man out in the cold, like to sleep in the barn.
Okay.
He asked the grandson the grandson goes to visit him because he's out there now, and he asked the grandson for a blanket. So the grandson goes in and asks the father for half of the rug. And says what he's going to take it to the grandfather. And he says, "Oh, go take the whole thing." And the grandson says, "Well, no, we need to save half for you when you're old."
Yeah, Daddy.
You had mentioned the pigs in the trough.
Okay.
In my first, actually, I think like my first two readings of this, and I first started taking notes before I did any looking into and discovered the other versions. My immediate thought was it wasn't that he was making their wooden bowl to eat out of behind the stove. It was literally making a pig trough because they were acting like pigs.
Okay.
And sort of, I immediately, there were two movies that kind of flashed into my head. One was Spirited Away.
Oh,
In the beginning, they discover like the old sort of like haunted fairgrounds or whatever it is. And the parents, they start seeing things that aren't there. And they find this food stall and they're just like plowing food in their faces and totally pigging out.
So
you know what?
Actually, I realize okay. You'll tell me that story. I as soon as you said that, I was like, all right. But I'm thinking of My Neighbor Totoro. But okay, tell me. Okay, I don't know that I've ever seen Spirited Away. Tell me all about it.
Yeah. So little girl and her parents are en route to their new house. Little girl doesn't want to move. I think they're moving for dad's job or whatever. And they get off course. I mean, this was the 90s, so there was no Google Maps. They get off course and end up in this sort of like field/abandoned fairground type place. It was like tents and stalls, but it was all sort of abandoned. They start looking around and the father and the mother discover that the food stalls all have food in them, but there's nobody around. So they start just like pigging out and eating like boughs and, all sorts of, I'm trying to think of other Chinese food.
This is starting to feel okay. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah. And anyway, so like they eventually over the course of 10 minutes or so, they turn into actual pigs. They're no longer human. They can't respond. So she goes looking for help. She ends up at the bathhouse, finds out that like Baba Yaga had turned her parents into pigs and she has to work for her now. But if she can remember her name, then she'll get set free and she can find her parents and go home or whatever. But like had a very distinct memory of that scene where they turn into pigs because they are clueless adults that aren't paying attention to the world around them.
And that ties in, just I guess like to...
Yeah, just sort of like the cluelessness and arrogance of adults in the eyes of a child. The other was I recently watched Pearl, which is a Thai West horror movie. It was the prequel to X.
I haven't seen it, but tell me all about it.
It's about a girl, World War I. She's living on her parents' farm with her parents because her new husband, is off at war. She resents him for having left, waiting for him to get back. The mother, the parents are both immigrants from Germany. The father is, I want to say it's like scarlet fever or something. He's in a wheelchair. He can't talk. He can't feed himself. So it's like a lot of depressing scenes where like they're at the table and she's like having to feed her father or bathe him and things like that. There's a lot of resentment in having to be there and, not outliving her life in her early 20s with her husband, on the farm with the parents taking care of them. Ultimately kills them.
Like you do,
Yeah. No, it was good. It was a really good movie. The story reminded me of that with the inability to eat and food dribbling out the face and being frustrated and resentful.
Speaking of all sorts of variants then, so yeah, ATU type 980, originally the wooden bowl. but has now been lumped into The Ungrateful Son is the type of story that it is. So a
Makes
bunch of
sense.
stories in which the son treats a failing father like garbage, but we've seen that. I feel like there's plenty of movies about elder abuse. There's not tons, but they're there because
Yeah.
they're, like I said, they're kind of, well, horror is different, but the rest, any serious ones are kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
There was the movie I Care a Lot. I don't know if you,
That rings a bell.
it was one of those movies, you may have seen it during like the first shutdown in COVID when like we all just started going through all the Netflix originals. It's like, this is a Netflix movie. It was like 2020-ish. It was Peter Dinklage and Rosamund Pike. The woman tries to swindle money out of old people. So not exactly the same, and nobody learns a lesson, but that's the, that's the
Just dark.
it might be the actual kid, but it's funny because, like I said, the woman that was stealing checks from Lucille, the housekeeper, she wasn't a kid, but like I guess just, I mean, any way that you treat someone that is now in your care,
Yeah.
she was an employee instead of a kid, but there's that sort of power imbalance that.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I guess not a lot written. I mean, again, the story's only half a page.
Yeah.
Not a ton written about it. I saw a few other variants. Short films. I saw a couple of short films. It didn't merit a full Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
things where the grandson loves the grandfather and has some empathy. I guess that depends on, you play that sort of, how old is this grandson?
Yeah.
If he's 3, then yeah, mouth of babes. If he's like 10, starting to like realizing the difference between right and wrong, and
Yeah.
you still have a chance to turn resentful of your parents for treating your grandfather, this person that you love, this way, or just learning this is how you do it.
Yeah.
Like broken
Yeah.
people begat other broken people, that sort of
Right.
thing.
Yep.
And you can break the cycle, but
I hit my kid because my dad hit me.
yeah, and
Yep.
then the cycle continues.
Or I hit my dad because my dad hit my grandfather.
Yeah. Smack your face, Dad. Ugh, there's not, yeah, again, just not a ton there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean there are other versions. Apparently Tolstoy published a version of this as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean it's a commonly retold, commonly themed parable, but
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really not
just
a lot
I'm
to
sure.
it.
I mean, we could go back and a million different times find the parables. Like just again, the golden rule: treat people the way that you would, and respect your parents, especially amongst your like Christ. The respect your parents that was one of the 10 commandments, wasn't it?
yeah, honor thy father and mother.
Honor them, but do not honor them by way of making them sit in the corner with a bowl and scream at them every time they spill a little bit of broth on the goddamn tablecloth. And what do you have a tablecloth for anyways, guys?
Right, yeah.
I don't even have a tablecloth. Why do you need a tablecloth? What are you putting on airs? Yeah. With your wooden bowls and shit and living in the middle of the woods in Germany in the 1800s? You don't
What are we-
need that
are we
much. Maybe it's a
fancy now?
king. Speaking of, by the way, variants,
Yeah.
or should I say, speaking of pitches, I do have a pitch. I don't have any other notes. I was
Nor
not
do
able
I.
to get a ton of. Okay, well, in that case, I do have a pitch.
All right.
Okay, if you would like to hear.
I would love to hear how you spun this.
Spec fic in outer space.
All of my pitches run pretty close. I think for this story that I want to write, nobody's going to learn a lesson. If I'm gaming with the story, I'm going to go sci-fi with it.
Oh,
I thought do an arc ship.
interesting.
It's far removed from the story, but I like this
Yeah.
little thing that I worked with. So do an arc ship. So civilization, they all pile into a ship. Off they go, as seen in the movie Wall-E, or the Douglas Adams novel, The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, or a million other things. So the Earth is doomed. We're all going to get into this spaceship and goes to a different planet. So planet is doomed. They get on the ark. Ship gets thrown off course at some critical junction, however, so they'll never make it to the star system they'd planned on, and it's going to be an extra 500-year journey. But the ship was not designed for that. So they get as many people into cryosleep as they can, realize the only chance they have is if 6 people, max, are awake at any given time. They need to do maintenance on the ship, but they also need to eat. They need to, they need to grow some amount of food.
Mhm.
So do all this sort of stuff. They figure out a way to do it, though. So into cryosleep, almost everyone goes, except for this newlywed engineer couple and another couple. But they're on the ship in space. Pregnancy's hard. The couple managed to have 1 child. They try and raise it to be an engineer. The other couple doesn't conceive, and they have to figure out what to do. What they do is they go and steal someone else's young kid, thaw him out, and there's your next generation, right? So they have to go get a couple others. They keep doing it. Now they're stuck. And again, if there's more than 6 people at any given time, the whole thing's going to fall apart. They're not going to survive. The ship will fail. Everyone's going to die. So at some point they get to 6. Son of the first two engineers finds out his girlfriend is pregnant way too early for their plan. They were supposed to wait until the parents were dead, but the father is also failing health. His mind's going. He can't do anything. Again, seventh person for any length of time kills off 1 million people. But there's some reason they can't put him into cryosleep either.
Or out an airlock.
Or out, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah. So fakes an emergency at some pod bay door, sees his father through the glass, hits the button. Dad gets sucked out into space and dies.
I didn't mean to predict it.
And yeah, no, it's like so nobody believes it's an accident, but also they know someone was going to have to die.
Yeah.
This is like the quickest way to kill this guy.
It's convenient.
And that's how it goes. They kill the old people for a few generations, but then one of the people changes his mind, sees his son looking at him, knows that that's his fate if he puts grandpa out the airlock, and he doesn't want to die that way. So he saves the father. They have more grandkids, and eventually there's 8 people awake, and then 10 people awake, and then 12, and then the system crashes. They run out of food. Nobody can do the maintenance. The ship powers off. It's just a frozen memory of civilization floating in the middle of 2 stars, never to be found again till the end of the universe. Keep death
like
of the
that.
universe. And yeah, like I said, I got to figure out how to work it. You can only be frozen once. Put some soft science in there. But it was bleak because I guess I'm feeling a little bleak.
Damn, I would read the shit out of this. Or
it's
or
not
watch it.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, I thought it's an interesting. I thought it was an interesting take. That was the only thing I could think of is like, oh, I don't want my kid to do that to me when I'm about to do my father. But then, well, okay, but you can do that, but it's a selfish decision.
Yeah, I love that sort of that twist on it.
Well, I'm glad that I liked it. Well, that's all I have.
Yeah, I'm coming off of I just finished the 3 Body Problem series.
Okay,
reading it.
Oh, I guess
it's like 3
I thought you were talking about
books.
specifically the 3 Body Problem. Okay, so this is
I watched it.
This is a science fiction series.
Yeah, well, I watched the series on Netflix too. But
okay,
but yeah, no, the whole series it gets into a lot of cryosleep and generation ships and things like that. So this is right up my recent alley.
I've been watching Foundation, which I'm giving it a second try, but it is the first season I felt pretty good about, and they started kind of skipping ahead, but they're a little bit off the rails at this point.
Maybe I shouldn't pivot to it then.
I don't know. Anyways, okay, but I digress.
Get on to writing yours, and then we'll be good.
Very good. I'll put it on the list. If you don't have anything else and I don't have anything, I think we can call it on Story 78, The Old Man and His Grandson. Until the next time in the next tale, maybe raise a glass with your grandmother if you still have one around, or your grandfather. They're in short supply, and don't make them sleep in the pig pen. So sleep tight, dream sweet dreams of growing old without having to eat out of a trough like a pig.
As well as today's sponsor, getting high or drunk with your grandparents because they like getting high and drunk too.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time. The Brothers Dim podcast is written by the Brothers Dim. Recording engineering is done by Mike, and sound editing and mastering by Phil. Brothers Dim podcasts are copyrighted by the Brothers Dim and available at brothersdim.com, on Blue Sky at Brothers Dim, and wherever you get your podcasts.